is Mark Gunn Media.
Hit it!
Welcome to Gunshots Straight from the Hip. I'm your host, Mark Gunn. The views expressed on this program are those of the host and guests and not necessarily reflective of anyone or any entity associated with this broadcast. This episode, the best TV show you're probably not watching. I want to personally thank everybody who has subscribed to the podcast, and remember, you can download it at markgunmedia.com, iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Google Podcasts, envision-radio.com, or wherever you download your podcasts. I also want to thank those of you that listen from anywhere in the U.S. and around the world. Bonjour to our listeners in France. Guten Tag to those of you listening in Germany. To my friends in Ireland. Dia Huch. Apa kabar Indonesia. Konnichiwa Japan. To my family in Nigeria. In Leo. Hello to my neighbors to the north in Canada. Hello Bangladesh. Hola to my friends in Brazil. G'day in Australia. And hello to those of you listening in the UK. We would love to hear from you, and you can reach out to us by going to our website at markgunmedia.com or through envision-radio.com. As a lifelong comic book fan, I always get excited when my favorite superheroes make it to the screen. It's a way of suspending belief for a while and enjoying a little escapism. For readers, the battle was always between the two biggest publishers, Marvel and DC Comics. Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman versus Spider-Man, Captain America, and the Incredible Hulk. Growing up, though, it was very rare that I saw characters that looked like me. That is, until July of 1966, when T'Challa, the Black Panther, came along. The one thing that I always loved about Marvel was that they were never afraid to tackle social issues. A lot of their work serves as an allegory for things like xenophobia, drug abuse, and racism, to name a few. In fact, funny story about the Black Panther comic book. After the first issue, the editor told Stan Lee and the legendary Jack Kirby that there needed to be more white people featured. So, in Kirby's next issue, he had T'Challa beating up the Ku Klux Klan. Fast forward some 50 years later, and Marvel's movie adaptation of the Black Panther became the highest-grossing film of all time by a black director and the 9th highest-grossing film of all time, period. The MCU, or Marvel Cinematic Universe, is one of the most successful franchises because of its huge fan base, wealth of material, and the diversity of its heroes. Case in point, Sam Wilson, aka the Falcon. With their move to Disney+, the MCU can create made-for-TV series like their latest work, The Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
The last time we see Sam and Bucky is after Steve leaves the shield with Sam. Sam is coming to terms with what it's going to be to pick up that shield. And that's where we kick off the show.
The legacy of that shield is complicated.
When Disney Plus was announced, there was an opportunity to interweave the cinematic universe with the television universe. The world of the Falcon and Winter Soldier in the films is so big, and you want this show to feel as big and as engrossing.
I think fans will definitely get a kick out of seeing a continuation of that kind of filmmaking that those movies had.
Sam, this has to be subtle.
Got it.
The action side is so embedded in what the MCU is, but through the show, we wanted to look at the human side of the characters.
For Bucky, it's the legacy of the Winter Soldier. His anchor point to the person who knew him before he was a murder machine no longer exists. So Bucky feels unmoored in the series and is looking for his purpose. And Sam Wilson is very much doing the same thing.
When Steve first told me about the shield, the first words I said were, feels like it's someone else's.
I felt like we would be dishonest just on a human level if we had this black man just accept the symbol without having real ambivalence about it.
With this series, we've been able to give a level of sincerity and humanity to him. You get a real sense of what this character, Sam Wilson, really is.
The notion of what blackness means in America ties very much into Sam's journey through the events of the show.
There's a fight out there, and then there's our fight here. And bro, you have taken them both on.
Well, let's get to work. The scope of these 6 episodes is really amazing. I mean, it's a huge story.
Falcon and Winter Soldier are really vibrant and electric characters. So when you are thrust into the action, you sink into the narrative and where the story ultimately goes.
Head writer Malcolm Spellman.
I think this is going to be an extremely relevant show in a lot of ways, and that is not by accident. And I think the magic of embracing diversity in the writer's room and having an almost all Black staff allows you to tap into pop culture through the magic, particularly, I mean, Black folk are the masters of it, you know what I'm saying? And when we get a shot to do what we do, it is universal for everyone because our struggle and our point of view is a concentrated version of the greater human struggle. So those moments are pointed, and we dig deeper and deeper and deeper as the series progresses.
This show does something that very few have the courage to do. It tackles racism head on. The series starts at the end of the movie Avengers Endgame when Steve Rogers, the original Captain America, gives his shield to Sam.
How does it feel? Like it's someone else's. It isn't.
And because of the implications of a Black man being the symbol of America, Sam is extremely reluctant in keeping it.
Symbols are nothing without the women and men that give them meaning. And this thing, I don't know if there's ever been a greater symbol, but it's more about the man who propped it up. And he's gone. So today we honor Steve's legacy, but also we look to the future. Thank you, Captain America. But this belongs to you.
So he gives it back to be displayed at the Smithsonian Institute. Turns out that the government ends up giving it to another white man in order to carry on the legacy of Captain America. Slap in the face, number one. In addition to the drama that ensues with the Wish.com Captain America, as some on the internet have taken to calling him, Malcolm Spellman talks about the importance of two Black superheroes being seen together.
It was for me and the rest of the writers and for Nate Moore, just the concept of two Black superheroes being on screen together said a million things, right? And if you've seen how much dialogue we wrote, because I was so excited to get them together, and a lot of that got distilled, but I think the spirit of that excitement, and not just that excitement, the poignance of two Black men, like Cheadle is such a good actor and Sam's such a good actor. This bigger issue that's going on in this journey, they don't have to say that much. Everybody knows these are two Black men and they dealing with the stars and stripes. They don't even have to say that much for you to get how much it's weighing on them and how much these dudes probably hooked up and talked behind the scenes in the MCU.
Here are Anthony Mackie as Sam and Don Cheadle as Colonel James Rhodes, a.k.a. the War Machine.
Crazy to think that nobody's going to be carrying the shield.
Hey, we went for 70 years without anybody carrying it when Steve was on ice, so I think we're all right.
It's a different time, Sam. So you're going to make me ask? Why didn't you take up the mantle?
When Steve first told me about the shield, the first words I said were, "It feels like it belongs to someone else. That someone else is Steve."
The world's a crazy place right now. People are, well, nobody's stable. Allies are now enemies. Alliances are all torn apart. The world's broken. Everybody's just looking for somebody to fix it. It's a new day, brother.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier also explore some microaggressions, even when they come from our own people.
Hey, it's Black Falcon!
It's just Falcon, kid.
No, my daddy told me it's Black Falcon.
Is it because I'm Black and I'm the Falcon?
Well, technically, I mean, yes.
So are you like Black kid? I got him, right?
Whatever, man.
It also explores very common themes among Black folks and people of color. Something as simple, or maybe not as simple, as getting a bank loan. Malcolm Spellman explains.
Every single person I'm sitting with went crazy over that scene, and it satisfied something very deep for people. And what's a trip is when we got to that moment and that question came about naturally, the entire Marvel structure chimed in on that moment because it created a dialogue, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, that was a really, really fun moment where what was supposed to be a scene that mostly dealt with the issues of a Black family from a certain background dealing with a bank loan, and the fact that him being a celebrity does not transcend him being Black, turned into way more logic and way more fun of, wait, how do superheroes make their money?
Sorry, I keep thinking, did you used to play for LSU? I mean, do I know you from somewhere?
I don't know, do you?
I do, but where?
Come on.
I knew it, Falcon. Yes, yes, man. Oh,
I didn't want to say anything, you know?
I always wanted to be an Avenger.
Oh, man. It's a dream come true, you know?
That's amazing.
Like keeping my family's business afloat by changing to a fishing and charter model.
You know what I've always wondered? How do you guys make a living?
You mean those guys or the guys sitting in front of you trying to get a loan?
Both. I mean, your financials are all over the place. Is there some kind of fund for heroes, or did Stark pay you when he was around? My condolences, by the way.
Thank you, but no, it doesn't really work like that. There's a tremendous amount of goodwill, and because of that, people are inclined to help, which applies to the business.
Right, but you couldn't have been living off of goodwill this whole time.
I don't get what you're going for here. Are you trying to help us or indict us?
You have no income over the last 5 years.
How can you have income if you don't exist?
Sarah, I've been gone, like several billion other people. But if you look at our plan, I have government contracts. So that's proof of earnings. And I know for a fact that we qualify for an SBA loan.
Under the old terms, sure. But these days, with everyone just showing up, well, things tighten up.
Funny how things always tighten around us.
Whoa, easy there. Look, I'm on your side. After all, he's a hero. Is there any chance, and of course you could say no, that I could get a selfie with your arms out?
Are you serious?
I know your family has banked with us for generations, but we cannot approve you. I'm truly sorry.
There's slap in the face number 2. Enter Isaiah Bradley. A clear illustration of what Black soldiers went through during World War II. Bradley was the first Black Captain America that nobody knew about. He was given his powers as a result of a version of the super serum that gave Steve Rogers his powers. Back then, and there's a well-documented history of this that Marvel actually taps into, Black soldiers were treated worse than the enemies they fought. White commanding officers didn't care if they were captured or killed. Bradley, according to his comic history, heroically saved members of his squad, and Uncle Sam did not like that one bit.
You know what they did to me for being a hero? They put my in jail for 30 years. People running tests, taking my blood, coming into my cell. Even your people weren't done with me.
Isaiah.
Get out of my house!
Remind you of any infamous experiments that took place in Tuskegee, Alabama? Bradley was locked away, and just as America covered up any history of Black soldiers during World War II, any record of his heroism was locked away as well. If you're an advertiser, one of the most important things about getting your message out is actually standing out from the rest of the crowd. If you're listening to this program right now, this is where you'd hear your commercial. As an exclusive sponsor of Gunshots Straight from the Hip, your commercial is professionally produced and gets a longer shelf life based on your needs. Gunshots Straight from the Hip is a unique and compelling program unlike anything else in the marketplace. Episodes are available for download on iTunes, TuneIn, and MarkGunMedia.com. And depending on how you tailor your message, the potential for new and repeat customers is that much greater. Best of all, it's extremely cost-effective. If you'd like more information on how you can be a sponsor of this broadcast, call Mark Gun Media Inc. at 502-407-0283. That's 502-407-0283. Or log on to markgunmedia.com. For downloads of this and past episodes and information about all the multimedia services we offer, log on to our website at www.markgunmedia.com. That's markgunmedia.com. As good as The Falcon and Winter Soldier is, it doesn't come without any controversy. Another Marvel film, Black Panther, had its share of controversy too. Some fans had a problem with it because of what they saw as an overrepresentation of blackness and black excellence.
Man, this is a huge deal. We've waited, I think, in the community for a movie like this for a very long time. I know that people talk about Blade having been another film that had a black lead as a superhero, but
Wesley Snipes, the vampire hunter guy. Yeah.
Exactly. But the problem was Blade was a rated R movie, so it's not a movie that you could take your kids to. So I think the significance of this is that you have young people being able to go to a film where they really see themselves and envision themselves as somebody on the screen.
You think about this character debuting in 1966, and we've got some great stills of some of those original comics from back in the day when the Black Panther first came out. And he continues, of course, to be in his own comic book 50 plus years later. You talked about the kids, though, being able to see themselves represented. I mean, that's got to be huge for them. And just to sort of, let's be honest, the comic book world is very white dominated.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate, I guess, side effect of the geek culture having been relegated to one particular area. So a geek like me growing up, I didn't really see myself very heavily represented in comic books. I mean, I did have heroes here and there that I could look up to, but you definitely didn't see anything on the big screen. And it's only been lately that Hollywood's, had a push towards more representation in film, because they know now that the more colored faces, the more faces of color you see in front of the camera, and the more people of color you have behind the camera, the better the film does overall.
I've seen people who have online said this film is black from front to back because so many of the people on screen are black and a lot of the people behind the screen were black. How important is that as well?
The cinematographer, the costume designer, even the people who did hair and makeup. I mean, it's really important to have people who understand what it's like to be a black person in front of a camera on this film. Growing up, when I took school pictures or even personal photographs, an issue that photographers told me to my face was that it's just very hard to photograph black skin. But in this film, there's just a warmth to people's bodies that you just haven't seen before. In any sort of other film where Africa has been a backdrop, you have very beautiful climate and everyone is shot really well until black people show up on the screen. All of a sudden the colors get very washed out. And then all these other things come in, warlord, poverty, corruption, that sort of stuff. And I think that what this film does excellently is not just dispense with those tropes, but invert them, sort of mock them and make fun of them in a way that I think the audience can really relate with. And I think if you're a black person in this film, there's going to be a lot of moments where a joke will just come out. And it'll take a second for that line to really land. And if people in the audience are there with other black people, it's just going to be a moment where we get to look at each other and say, yeah, we made it.
Well, the other thing that's really interesting, and you talked about this these stereotypes some people have about Africa. So you and I know this because we are comic book fans, but this guy is African royalty from this mythical, mysterious kingdom known as Wakanda. And it's a very different kind of African country than we're used to. They're super technologically advanced. They were never colonialized either. So it's really kind of taking some of those myths, those stereotypes, those prejudices that we have, and as you're saying, turn them on their head.
Well, this is, I think, the first film that is in the Afrofuturism genre. So stories like this are familiar to black comic book geeks if we've really followed that Afrofuturism trend. But a really important question that I think this film asks, what does it mean for a kingdom like Wakanda to exist that is light years ahead of humanity technologically, but stood aside while Africa was being colonized and while Africans were being enslaved and shipped across the oceans to the Americas? What does that really mean? And how do you wrestle with that as the ruler of Wakanda, or somebody who might have come from Wakanda and seen the impact that has had on black people across the world? I think this film handles that expertly with a lot of jokes along the way. I really appreciated the heavy subject matter was handled in such a way that I could laugh at it afterwards.
While the majority of the fans watching The Falcon and the Winter Soldier are very positive about the way the show deals with race, there's a corner of the fan base that has a problem with racism even being discussed.
One of the biggest problems with this show is that instead of focusing on issues in the Marvel universe, they're focusing on issues that are prevalent in our society. And it's not really something that people are looking for. You have to think, when you turn on the news, all of this stuff just dominates. It's in just about every piece of programming now, and people are just sick of it. This is why you see stuff from Newsweek here. As NBA ratings decline, poll shows 34% watched less sports over SJ messages. This is a pretty big common theme. People are just tired of this. It's so constant. People are sick of it. It's not just me saying this. This is from The Gamer. maybe Falcon and the Winter Soldier should pick just one villain. What do they want to be the main villain of the show? Racism. That's right. Why do they have so many villains struggling when they just get in the way of Falcon and the Winter Soldier's themes of racism? After talking about all of the show's villains, they say all this, and you could still argue that the main villain in Falcon and the Winter Soldier is racism in the USA. After talking about all of the issues that Sam faces, with Isaiah Bradley, the hidden rock super soldier, clearly set to return for a bigger part in the show's second half, Ross will no doubt continue to have a huge part of Falcon and the Winter Soldier's storytelling. So why are so many villains getting in the way of it? And there is a lot of these themes in this show, whether you see it or not, it's there.
According to a computer program that Disney Plus uses to track when viewers are turning off an episode, there was one scene in particular in the second episode that saw something like 80% of people watching turn the show off, pretty much at the same time.
So you're telling me that there was a black super soldier decades ago and nobody knew about it? Hey, what's up, man?
Is there a problem here?
No, we're just talking.
We're fine. Can I see your ID?
I don't have ID.
Man,
Why?
seriously? Just sir, just calm down.
I am calm. What do you want? We're just standing here
Just
talking.
give him your ID.
No,
so
I'm
we
not
get
giving
the
him
hell
shit. We're just talking.
Hey, look, is this guy bothering
No,
you?
he's not bothering me. Do you know who this is?
Oh, God. I am so sorry, Mr. Wilson. I didn't recognize you without the goggles. I'm really, really sorry about this.
Poor little Marvel fans got caught up in their feelings because they were, quote, sick of hearing about racism and BLM, end quote. Hey, snowflakes, if you're tired of hearing about it, imagine how tired we as black people must be of dealing with it. Besides, if you were really tired of hearing about racism, a reasonable person would conclude that they should do something to stop it. The Marvel Universe continues to do its part, and if it means bringing more stories like this to the forefront, so be it. In the last couple of episodes, Sam Wilson does reveal himself as the new Captain America. But it's not the Captain America that this country is ready for. He's different, more nuanced, and as he said earlier in the film, a hero for the times.
This isn't about easy decisions, Senator. You just don't understand. I'm a black man carrying the stars and stripes. What don't I understand? Every time I pick this thing up, I know there are millions of people out there who are going to hate me for it. Even now, here, I feel it. The stares, the judgment. And there's nothing I can do to change it. Yet I'm still here. No super serum, no blonde hair or blue eyes. The only power I have is that I believe we can do better.
In the end, Sam Wilson accepts his role as the new Captain America, even if portions of the country don't. Marvel has also announced plans for a new Captain America 4 film, so that's something to look forward to. And in closing, even if you're not a comic book movie fan, I highly recommend watching this show, and then watching it again, because there is stuff that you are going to miss the first time. Superhero stuff aside, these are the kinds of stories that should be told, and told often. There will always be naysayers, but they are to be ignored because the message is far too important. Let me know what you think. Get at me on the website at markgunmedia.com or shoot me an email at mark@markgunmedia.com.
This is Mark Gun Media.
Hit it!
One of the biggest accomplishments we've had over the past year is the continued growth of our podcast, Gunshots Straight from the Hip. If you haven't heard it, you can check it out now on our website at markgunmedia.com or on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or the TuneIn Radio app. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Past episodes are available for download right now. Each episode is written and produced from a perspective not heard enough in this medium, the black perspective. However, Gunshot Straight from the Hip is not limited to a black audience. Anyone can get something out of it. We tackle social and political issues, sometimes some slice of life stuff, in a way that's very compelling and unlike any other podcast on the market right now. With my experience as an award-winning audio producer and a reputation for being rather outspoken, Gunshots Straight from the Hip is something you won't want to miss. Over the next year, we want to add more subscribers, with a goal of 1,000 new subscribers every month. If you haven't joined us yet, go to our website, markgunmedia.com, and hit the podcast link. You could also subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you're already with us, thank you. We just ask that you turn your friends and family on to us. Remember, we have a goal of 1,000 new subscribers every month, and we can't do it without your support. That's Gunshots Straight from the Hip, available right now at markgunmedia.com, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or the Tuned In Radio app. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you.
Mark Gun Media. No hype, no hoopla, just damn good work.
You've been listening to Gunshots Straight from the Hip. The views expressed are those of the host and guests and not reflective of any business entity or anyone associated with this broadcast. If you have any comments or want more information on how to be a sponsor, log on to our website at markgunmedia.com or call us at 502-407-0283. That's 502-407-0283. Thank you for listening.
Mark Gun Media. No hype, no hoopla, just damn good work.